Welcome in the today's HR session where we are going to understand about the frequent used shortcuts in judging others. Before that, we are going to discuss about the stereotype. So my dear friends, as in the previous session, I had a discussion with you regarding the perception, types of perception and the decision processes and the factors, the social perception also, the factors which affect the social perception. Today we are going to discuss about something new, that is stereotype. Stereotype, the generalization about the group of people which reduces the information about the other people to the workable level so that it can be compiled efficiently. So stereotypes become even stronger when they are shared with and validated by the others. These can be accurate and serve useful perceptual guidelines. So inaccurate stereotypes, they are harmful because they generate false impressions. They may never be tested or changed. Okay, so where in case of the multicultural work teams, the members often stereotype the foreign co-workers rather than getting to know them before forming an impression. So team members from the less developed countries, they are often assumed to know less simply because their homeland is economically or technologically less developed. So stereotypes like these can deflate the productivity of the work team and lower the morale. So attractiveness also is a powerful stereotype. So we assume that the attractive individuals are very warm, kind, sensitive, biased and socially. So it is not necessary that the attractive people, this stereotype is actually not fit, that the attractive people are usually having the possess the good social skill. So it may be contrary. Okay, so some individuals may seem to us fit the stereotype of attractiveness because of the behavior and some may not. So this is the part of the stereotypes. On the another context, when there is a contrast against the stereotype, the members of the stereotype group is treated more positively. For example, if a female softball player might receive more applauses from a home run hit than a male team mate, because some people may stereotype women as less athletic than a man and hold female players to a lower standard. So either way, the contrast too is still part of stereotype. Okay, so now what are the barriers to the social perception? The barriers to social perception is selective perception. Selective perception first, then stereotype, first impression error, projection and self-fulfilling prophecies. So selective perception is the tendency to prefer the information which supports the viewpoints. Individuals often ignore the information that threatens their viewpoint. Suppose, for example, the sale manager, he is evaluating the performance of the employees. So one employee doesn't get along well with the colleague and rarely complete the sale reports. So employees generate the most new sale contracts in the office. The sale manager may ignore the negative information and choose to evaluate the salesperson only on the basis of the contract that is generated. Okay, so this is selective perception. On the basis of that selective information, he may perceive and he may take a decision. Stereotype already discussed. First impression error. First impression error is that we observe a very brief bit of the person behavior in first encounter and infer that this behavior reflects what the person is really like. So primacy effect can be particularly dangerous in the interviews, but we form first impression quickly that these impressions may be on the basis of that the long-term relationship would be based. So perceptions of the candidate, such as whether they like the person, they trust the person or not, so not seem credible, so it influence the interviewer decision. Then is your projection. The projection is basically the false consensus effect that causes the appropriate perception of the others. So the misperception of the commonness of our own beliefs, say, behavior, that leads to, overestimate the number of persons, number of others who share them. So we assume the others are similar to us and our own values and beliefs are appropriate. So people who are different are viewed as unusual and even deviant. Okay, so then is the self-fulfilling prophecies. Self-fulfilling prophecies basically intervenes with the social perception, that sometimes our perceptions affect the way we interact with others, so that we get what we wish for. Okay, so teachers, they were given the bogus information about some of their people who have the intellectual potential. Already I had given this kind of example. So but really no difference among the students, and after 8 months when they find the gifted pupil, they scored significantly higher on an IQ. So the expectations has elected the growth from these students, and the teachers given them the stronger, tougher assignments, more feedback on their performance. On the other side, if you talk about the manager expectation on the individual effect, both managers behavior towards the individual and the individual response. So suppose your initial impression is that an employee has the potential to move up within the organization, chances are you will spend a great deal of time coaching, counseling to the employee and provide the challenging assignments for the individual success. Okay, so this is your self proficiencies. Then is the internal and the external attribution. See, attribution, what is basically this attribution theory? The attribution theory is how we pinpoint the causes of our own behavior. How we pinpoint the causes of our own behavior, and where it includes the two things, internal attribution and the external attribution. So the attribution pattern, it differs among the individuals. Achievement oriented individuals attribute the success to ability and the failure to the lack of effort. Both are internal causes. Failure oriented individuals, they attribute their failure to the lack of ability. They may develop the feelings of incompetence as a result. If you take the example of women managers, they are less likely to attribute their success to their own abilities. Okay, so this may be because they are adhering to the social norms, as they are compelled the women to be modest, and because they believe the success has more to do with the hard work than the ability. Okay, so in case of the Indian woman case study or the Indian manager case study, the perception of gender and the organization life that found that the women always have to be hard worker. Okay, so attribution theory has many applications in the workplace. So the need is to explain or need is to find out own behavior effect on the motivation. So if you believe carefully the preparation and the rehearsals, that leads to understand more effectively the sense of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is to understand about yourself. Okay, so this is the internal and the external attributions. If I talk about the fundamental attribution errors, the attribution process which may be reflected in the two errors, commonly errors, the fundamental attribution errors and the self-serving bias. Both are the tendency to make the attribution, means how you pinpoint the causes of your own behavior. My behavior is because of my this background reason, and which therefore affects to my performance. So when focusing on someone else's behavior, the tendency to make the attribution to the internal causes. When focusing when focusing on someone else's behavior is known as fundamental attribution error, and the other error is self-serving bias. Self-serving bias occurs when focus on one own behavior. Individuals tend to make internal attribution for own success, and external attribution is for their own failure. So this is the difference. In other words, when we succeed, we take the credit for it, and we fail, we give the blame to the outside situation. So this is basically the two biases in this scenario. So next is your this cross cultural attribution. See, the cross cultural attribution is basically where we have the aspect of the leadership of the high structured and the low concentration. So in this both biases we are supposed to consider. So the cultural differences in these two attribution errors, and in the fatalistic cultures like India, such as India, people tend to believe that fate is responsible for much what happens. So fate is only responsible for whatever is happened, and people in such cultures, they tend to emphasize they tend to emphasize the external cause of behavior. So there is also some evidence to demonstrate that the Indian managers, they have the propensity to make the internal attribution concerning their worker poor performance. Okay, so the results showed that there was within the culture effect due to the leadership effect. So high structure means the low consideration manager made more internal attribution than the low structure high consideration managers. So thus the low structure managers are more external in their attribution. Okay, so this is basically your cross cultural, what we say, the attribution. So need is to understand the people, they try to understand the cause of the behavior so that they can predict, control future behavior. So managers, they use basically the attributions in all aspects of their jobs, in evaluating the performances, and on the basis of that rewards to the employees. Managers, they must determine the cause of the behavior, perceive the source of the responsibility. So that's why this theory explains how the performance evaluation judgments can lead to different rewards, and the supervisors attributing employ good performance to internal causes such as effort or the ability. So it may give a larger rise than a supervisor attributing the good performance to the external cause. So life like it helps from others or good training. So it is oftenly called to explain that own actions as well, explain your own actions as well, and in doing so they make the attribution about the cause of their own behavior. So I hope you are able to understand that how it is related and how it is beneficial. Thank you for listening this session. Please subscribe my channel, like my channel, and please forward to the others who are looking for the help in the organization behavior or human behavior and people process sessions. Please subscribe. Thank you.